the Uncle Gold Podcast. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Uncle Gold Podcast. My name is Borna, Zuber, I'm the host, and this is the podcast where we talk about how to find the gold in life, and I bring on guests that share the idea of improving yourself and increasing the quality of your life. And today I brought a guest on that I met, I think it was like 2 years ago on a success mindset conference, and we kind of share the same ideas. So I wanted to bring him on the podcast so we can talk more about useful topics for you guys listening. Tomas Vircik, welcome to the Uncle Gold Podcast.
Hi everyone. Thank
How's
you
it
for
going, man?
having me here.
How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm feeling actually great. I'm kind of on meetings the whole day, I suppose. So I'm kind of ready for this one as well.
All right. You're in the working mode already.
Yes, since 9.
Oh, it's been a long day then. Well, then let's get right into it. I personally met Tomas on this conference that I mentioned before. It was a millionaire mindset conference by Success Resources, and there were a lot of people there who were kind of thinking of improving themselves, their business, their mindset, and everything around their life. And in the breaks, we kind of started chatting to each other, and we shared some cool ideas with each other, and we became friends and kind of stayed in touch after that. But Tomas, for people who are not familiar with what you do and who you are, can you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about where you are at right now?
Yes, at the moment I'm working on my website and kind of personal thing. Really, it's my kind of more likely passion, I suppose, because I like helping people. And what I would name it is kind of life coaching, as well as business branding, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So I developed a website, which I was working on for a really long time, actually. And it was a really long process because, as you know, when you work, you have to also work on your passions aside of work. So it's kind of afternoons, late nights. And so now I began to work on videos and that are motivating people, and also releasing blog weekly. I'm trying weekly or even every 2 weeks. Then I'm writing books, and I wrote one already, and I'm working on the second one at the moment. So this is where I'm at the moment with all my kind of business, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. What do you do for a living?
For a living, I am quality analyst.
Mm-hmm.
So I just analyze data at the moment, and this is my really passion. What I do, life coaching. But then, what I do at work, it doesn't bother me as much. So I don't push my life coaching as much as I suppose I would if I wouldn't like my job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do it as a hobby, and I really enjoy it. Time wise, and I don't really push myself anywhere. So it's like kind of real nice balance between work and my hobbies. So it's like I feel really well at work, and also when I'm at home and I have free time, I just use it to my own passions, and it's really nice. It's really nice balance.
Awesome. I noticed that data analytics and big data is a hot topic right now in the world. A lot of new jobs opening in that space. A lot of companies realize that they haven't been using their data at all, or at least properly. So they're hiring more and more people in this space. Can you tell us maybe how you got into that job, and what are some of the ins and outs if maybe someone is interested in directing their career towards something like that?
Yes, basically what I did was it started maybe 11 years ago, I suppose. 11 years ago, yeah, when I was learning online marketing by myself over the night. And then it came to the point where I actually understood how social media work, how you can use the website, how you can use marketing, and how you can actually bring your brand, build your brand actually, so business branding, let's say. And so I did presentations at that time, and I had few businesses attending this presentation. And then after years, I just forgot about it because it was getting nowhere. And the jobs I applied for was not really my area yet. But I suppose I kept trying, and then one day I saw that ad popping up, that they need quality analysts, and I said, I will ignore this one. But that time I actually didn't ignore it. Fifth time I saw this ad,
Mhm.
so I decided, okay, I apply for this one, and I actually presented my knowledge and what I did before, and I had these presentations and everything on the interview, and they just said, okay, you are perfect fit for it, So the actual scenario for an advice would be, don't give up, keep trying, keep getting more experienced in the area,
Mhm.
maybe get some courses, maybe follow some other people that did it the same way, and if they want to follow certain kind of job career, they can always get there, but they need to be patient, as I was. It took me 11 years to get that job, so
Mhm.
maybe 10, actually, maybe 10. But this would be my advice, I suppose.
Mhm. Are there a lot of like, if somebody wants to learn online, are there a lot of like YouTube videos that you can watch for free on data analytics?
Yes, definitely. There are on YouTube. There are many videos, but analytics. I wasn't learning specifically analytics, but I was more into marketing. But it was really something related. So that's why they consider me for this position. But I mean, for analytics, there are many coaches, that they put their content for free, so you can actually follow them and learn a lot, just by watching them doing it, and you don't necessarily need to attend the course.
Hmm.
Even if you decide to, there are courses for 15, 20 euro, that are not as expensive. So if
Hmm.
you want to learn something, you can develop, get a certificate for that as well, which is recognized, and really there is a path, to get that kind of a job.
Hmm. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the Uncle Gold podcast. If you want to support this whole project, make sure you go to the second channel called Uncle Gold Podcast Clips. There I create short form videos with the best topics from the interviews that I do on the main channel. You get their videos daily. They're separated nicely into playlists so you can choose the topic that you want to watch most. And now let's go back to the video. Why are companies not using their data? What's the problem there?
Oh, because some companies, you see, the data is the big factor, which was used previously too. But in these days, the data are overloading. And some companies didn't adapt yet, as I can see it from my point of view. They didn't adapt to this kind of um, fast-paced world now we
Hmm.
are living at now, which is, let's say, Google. If you go to Google, you just will be overloaded with kind of updates every single week, day. Like it's crazy. And so the smaller companies, let's say, or the companies that are not used to this kind of scenario yet, they they are still watching the other companies and they are still adapting to it. So I mean, it's a process. It will take time till we get somewhere, at I mean, to some kind of a stage where
Hmm.
where companies will start using these kind of big data. Because as you can see, you get these cookies in your phone. Well, some companies don't even use them, but then if you use cookies, well, Facebook use cookies, and then you go to Facebook app and you see all these advertisements actually popping up just based on what you have seen in your Google Chrome, and
Hmm.
it's really crazy. So companies will get used to it and they will kind of develop this kind of approach to data, but it will take time. It will take time,
Hmm.
I suppose.
Yeah, I agree on that one. I was working in a recruitment company for the last year, and there were a lot of companies that were hiring people who know how to work with data. And I see it as a big trend that will stay here for a number of years, especially connected to social media and websites like that, where there's a lot of data, which is in all different kinds of categories, and companies who use that well can literally impact their business in a significant way and make a lot of profit and improve their performance. So yeah, I think that's a great direction to move for your career there, and I hope you succeed with that. If it's making you happy, that's a great place to be, man.
Well, basically, I would put myself in the I put myself in a position where I don't chase my passions, but I'm kind of not expecting, I'm awaiting something to happen. And if this will happen, I will quit my job, So I'm not putting myself under the pressure of pursuing this kind of career.
Mhm.
But I mean, I don't feel pressured by my work to pursue my passions as well as much,
Mhm.
So I have
Mhm.
that balance. So if something will happen along the way, of course, I will just quit my job, and I will start
Yep. Yep.
doing what I love doing anyway. And it will
Mhm.
be my job, but I need to get prepared. There is a big difference doing your passions and make it a job. So there are two different paths.
Mhm.
Which are not aligned as much, because when you take it as a job, it's really a big hustle to kind of face all these responsibilities, to take it as a job. You have to deal with many other scenarios which you don't if you just do it at home, just because it's your hobby.
Yeah.
So yeah, I need to get ready if I really want to start doing it, but at the moment I'm not pressuring, so
Mhm.
we will see how it goes.
Yeah, well, you'll adapt. Like if there's a great opportunity, of course you'll take it.
Yes.
I have to tell you a story about data. I knew about it when I was younger, but I was always kind of like, this is not my field of interest. I'm more like a people's person, not a numbers guy. I always put myself in that category. And then I started YouTube in 2019 and started posting a bunch of videos. And then I got the YouTube analytics where I can see all my numbers in the background. And man, I have to tell you, I fell in love with data so much. Like I'm looking at my charts and numbers all the time, and it's just great. It's changed my perspective on how to make videos, what to do with them, and I try to educate myself a lot on that topic because I see it's very valuable. And a lot of these really successful YouTubers talk about how important it is to read your data and make the next video based on the performance of the previous videos and analyze keywords and titles and things like that. And then they use that data to make the next video a lot better, which gets them a new audience, and then they get more data to work from. So I'm kind of going down that path. And since you started a YouTube channel, I also wanted to ask you, did you look into your data and have you fallen in love with it as well?
um I don't want to surprise you, but I didn't.
You surprised me there.
And do you know why?
Fine.
Because, as I said, at the moment I'm not pushing it. I'm taking it as a hobby.
Hmm.
So at the moment I'm not looking at the data, but I'm aware of it. I exactly know what you're talking about. It brings you that big picture of actually what's going on behind the scene, of all the YouTube videos, of all the um, targeted ads and everything like that. So if you really want to, I did few ads, and you really can target these ads. And if you check the data, then you realize, oh, it's actually not working. But then if you keep trying different scenarios, different approach, you take different approach with that ad, you will see how data will change actually, specifically because you change the hashtags, or you will change the name of it, or some kind of, or people or audience.
Hmm.
So data are very important, of course, but I haven't checked it yet because as I said, it's just my hobby at the moment. But it's really interesting that you mentioned that. I'm really glad that you're doing it, because big companies, as we mentioned before, are doing it too, and that's how they get their business done.
Hmm.
And that's how we see smaller companies are not as developed yet. So
Hmm.
I think you are following the good path, and I should follow you actually and do the same thing, I think. If
Thanks,
I
man.
want to pursue it really, kind of in the future.
Well, look, take your time. Like everything comes when you search for it and push in that direction.
Yeah.
It didn't start for me immediately. Like at the start, I was just focused on creating new videos, and I wanted to experiment and see how it works. So it was kind of a longer testing period of just like, let's put it out there. Let's just see what happens. Now I'm getting more and more the hang of it, and I really love the process. So let's talk about that for a second while we're on the YouTube channel there. So you make videos about motivating people, and I know that you love to talk about that topic. Tell me, how did you pick that topic for yourself, and maybe even the original story how you got into personal development would interest me a lot.
Right, um, this will start maybe in the time 2007 when I arrived to Ireland, and how to begin that? I kind of get lost myself. I get lost, and I didn't find myself as supported as I expected to be, because people have these expectations from people, from other people, and from the life in general. And so I didn't get that support which I was expecting, and I felt like a loser, I suppose I would describe it this way. And also the person who wouldn't be able to take control of his own life, because I thought that everyone ignores me at that time. And this is where it started, actually, So it took me good few, let's say, I suppose about 9 years until I realized that I'm not getting anywhere, actually. I started these presentations, but it wasn't getting it nowhere, and I didn't pursue it. So I actually stopped every single time I was getting somewhere, and I wasn't able to take control of my own thoughts and my thought process in my head. So I had few troubles from my own personal kind of life. And the thing is, um, well, I used also alcohol. I have to mention that I have used a lot of alcohol to actually forget about it.
Mm.
But it didn't work. It works just for one evening, let me tell you, and then it doesn't. You wake up even in worse state. And it was going for a good few years. It was going like that for a good few years. And then I've heard that song from Eminem. I have to mention this guy because I used to listen to him and any other
Mhm.
bands or rappers, hip hoppers, singers,
Yeah,
whoever.
me
I,
too.
I, I have no specific, style. But this guy released the song Phenomenal. And he talked about how to get through these things, and how to actually push yourself further. And if you if you if you can't break the wall, take a step back and put all into it, and all these words. And I'm like, and the tears coming out from my eyes, and I'm like listening to this song every single night. I listened to this song good few times, at that time. It was maybe 4 5 years ago, I think. Could be now 5 years ago. Yeah, even more. Could be five, or yeah, I think it was 5 years ago when he released that. And so I get angry at myself. Come on, man, just do something about it. Just start doing something because it's your own responsibility. He said it, and he's right. He's correct. He's right. This were my thoughts. And my mom gave me one book, which was from Robin Sharma,
Mhm.
and he talked about self development and how to get your life better. So I decided to read that book, and so I read it with this song in my head all the time. Yeah. And I I was crying many times while I was reading this book. And you know they say men don't cry, but it's not necessarily true.
Mm.
We have feelings too.
Yeah.
And then I realized that the whole time I was actually sorry for myself, not only destroying myself and putting myself under the ice, instead of actually you know not going on the ice at the first place, but just try to go around the lake. Try to find another path, not just go straight through the lake. Just putting myself on the thin layer of ice.
Mhm.
So I started diving, no diving, coming out from the ice, up on the surface, and going around the lake, trying to find other paths. And so this was my kind of journey. And this book actually taught me many things. So I
I'm
started
sorry.
working on myself. Sorry.
Can you just say what was the book that you read, Robin
Yeah,
Sharma?
it was. What was the exact name now? I read it twice actually, but I don't remember. It's a long name. Just give me a second. I want to say it correctly. The book is called "Who Will Cry When You Die?" From the monk who sold the Ferrari. I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah.
I think that was the name of the book, and it was basically the kind of transition that you shouldn't be sorry when you are going to die, but you should be actually happy what kind of life you had. And the
Hmm.
people around you will be sorry because they will miss you, you know?
Yeah.
So that was the kind of a point of this whole book, you know? It was interesting to go through that. And I worked on myself good few years. And this, when I realized that it's really working, you know? It's working and you can actually take control of your life, of your decisions, of your behaviors, of your thought process, and all these things. And then I realized I want to do something similar. I want to help other people. You know, I want to kind of share my journey. I want to share my kind of thought process and how I get there. Maybe it
Hmm.
will help somebody. And and this is how I discovered what I want to do, you know, and I was pushing it really strongly until I found this job, you know, that I'm working at now. And so I didn't need to push it anymore, you know. I was kind of I took it as a hobby then, but
Hmm.
still I'm working on the book, you know, and I will release it. I mean, it's a slower process now because I'm not pushing it.
Hmm.
So this is how I got into the life coaching and kind of self development and motivation and all these things, and also branding, business branding, because I used to learn myself a lot about business and marketing and all these things. So I kind of helped a few companies, and I was working with one small shop owner who actually left the country, but we developed already the website and everything. So I went through this process already. So I'm kind of happy with all that stuff that I would be able to provide people with, you know. So
Hmm.
this is how it happened. This is how it started.
Um, Thanks for sharing the story, man. It must have been tough, and I'm glad the book helped. Do you remember what were some of the first steps that you took after reading the book when you decided that you wanted to change yourself?
Yeah, this is really good question, you know. Um, what helped me a lot was basically write down who I am.
Hmm.
And I start writing all these small, let's say I'm a, I'm a life, I'm a, no, I'm a day changer. You know, I change the days for people in people's lives, you know, because I brought a smile to people. I could make people smile. That's what I mean. Still, I can, you know, but I mean, I forgot about it because I was so sorry and I so deep dive so deep in myself so that I forgot about it.
Yeah.
And so I started writing down who I am and what my characteristics are, and also I started writing down what my behaviors are, you know. And I actually realized that I changed so much that I'm not recognizing myself anymore, you
Yeah,
know.
you're not the
From
same person.
and I was crying again, you know, writing these things down.
Mhm.
And every single evening I was going through these things again and again and again. That was one of the things, you know. And then second one would be that I actually wrote my gratitude points, what I'm grateful for,
Mhm.
and also what my goals are, who I want to become. You know, my kind of points, who I want to become.
Yeah.
So this was my kind of beginning, and I started practicing this every morning and every evening.
Mm.
So I'm not doing it anymore, yeah, because I kind of don't feel that I need it anymore. You know, I'm kind of happy enough.
Yeah, yeah.
I was really, you know, I wrote down the things like I'm grateful for my family, let's say, or for my sister, for my mom, for my parent, well, for my dad, for my son, and other people I have, let's say cousins, everyone
Mhm.
I could think of. And then you know what I imagined, that let's say my son. It's really hard for me to talk about it actually, because it's really, when you imagine it, you know, it's
Mhm.
really emotional. I get emotional about this, but I imagined what would happen if I see my son under the car dead? And you start imagining these things and
Yeah.
start cry again, and then you realize that you are actually a happy man.
Yeah.
That was kind of one thing. And then my goals. So
Hmm.
I would, let's say, I would write down that I would not get angry this day. Let's say one step at a time. So let's say not get angry for a week. So every single morning, I there was that gratitude. I would call it ritual. Let's say gratitude ritual. Yeah. So I went through this, and then when I went to work, I had this in my mind. I don't get angry because I am grateful. And I had this, and over the time, it will build up that kind of mm, new new you. You rebuild yourself because you will start putting changing the thought process, and
Yeah.
start thinking differently to what you used to. And it was really tough from the beginnings. It took a lot of work because I went further and down and back into where I was before. It was like kind of yo-yo, but I worked on myself every single day, and eventually I start moving on. you
Hmm.
know so this is how I began with all the story. This is my answer to your question.
Hey, if you love using YouTube, I recommend the free Chrome extension called TubeBuddy. It allows you to do some advanced keyword research, cut your publishing time in half, and also rank your videos higher in search. I use them when creating for all my 3 channels. They have a paid version as well, but I recommend starting with the free option for starters. They give you a lot of data when watching YouTube, also comparing your stats to other YouTube channels, and help me a lot to gain more subscribers and more viewers on my channels. As I said, it's a free Chrome extension, but please use the link down below in the comments. And if you go for the paid version, type in Borna Tubers to get a discount of 20%. And now let's get back to the video.
It's an awesome story, man. I kind of have some similar elements there. I know that when I asked myself questions like, "Oh, what do I want? What are my goals?" It was very hard for me to write them down. Like I took an empty notebook just for that, and I thought that I had a bunch of them. I thought that I would be writing there for like an hour, and nothing came to my mind. I was like, I was kind of lost there. So I kind of turned the page, and I was like, all right, I'll stop for a second, and then on the second page, I wrote, all right, what do I don't want to happen, or who do I not want to be, to kind of create contrast for myself. And it worked. I just began writing, and thoughts that I didn't want to happen came to mind. So similar to some of the visualization that you did. And then after I finished the page, I turned the page back and went back to all right, what do I want now? And then it was 10 times clearer. It was 10 times easier to do it, because when you have contrast, then you're like, all right, if I don't want to be poor, end up in a ditch somewhere dead, or not being the person that I want to be, then it's easier to define the person that you do want to be. So that was kind of the first steps for me in personal development. And I think books helped a lot.
Yes.
I started reading Think and Grow Rich was one of the first ones.
Which one?
Think and Grow Rich,
Right.
from Napoleon Hill. That's a great book. Then Wallace D. Wattles' Science of Getting Rich. Science of Being Rich, sorry. That's a great book as well. And then Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins blew my mind. Like, I really loved his work. For everybody listening, if you haven't heard of Tony Robbins, go Google that guy. Either watch his videos on YouTube, or just download some of his materials that are amazing. They are truly amazing. They truly change lives. He's been doing it for like 40 years now or something, and he's helped really so many people. And I take a lot of elements from him that I want to emulate for myself. So yeah, can you talk more about some of the books that you would recommend to people reading who are interested in finding a good book to read?
Yeah, I stopped reading as much, but I picked the book that I want to read,
Mm-hmm.
And so the one would be, if someone wants to kind of find themselves again, would be that Robin Sharma, and it's called again, Who Who will cry when you die?
Hmm.
From the monk who sold his Ferrari,
Hmm. Hmm.
I think.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
then
correct.
and then another would be, if you want to really find your passion and work on it, that would be Crushing It from Gary Vaynerchuk. So you know the guy too. I just cannot praise him as much as, well, the more he's really. I mean, this is the guy. When you want to find passions, just follow this guy. And
Yeah.
as you said, also very good books are from um, um, Tony Robbins.
Hmm.
And if someone knows the guy and haven't followed him yet, do.
Hmm. Yeah.
Do follow this guy. Yeah, I would follow this guy definitely. He also helped me a bit, but I never read his book completely because he has more structural kind of paths. Sometimes he takes the structural path, which I wasn't going to do yet. I wasn't ready for this book.
Hmm.
And then I actually went through the process myself. So I haven't finished it yet. I mean, went through the process of developing myself by myself. So
Hmm.
then I didn't finish his book, but I really can recommend his books. As you
Yeah.
said, he's professional in these things. He helped
Amazing.
millions of people, and it just amazing how one person can do that.
Yeah. A friend of mine visited his seminar, Date with Destiny, in London, and he loved it. He's like, you absolutely have to go. It's amazing. So that's on my
Yes.
bucket list to do while I'm alive. Because Tony's not going to live forever. We have to use opportunities
Yes,
while we have them, while he's still doing. But I do think that he'll do these seminars until he's like 90.
I think so. Because do you know why? Do you know why, actually? I'm asking you. Do you know why?
I would say passion would be one of them, and the
Yes,
second
he
one
loves
is,
helping these people. He just loves that.
yeah,
He's that
yeah.
person. He's that person.
And
That's why.
I think he's extremely committed in a way where at one point he made the decision and then decided to do it for the rest of his life, and will definitely do it. I think the main argument for that is that he sometimes speaks of his mentor, Jim Rohn, and other people that influenced him. And he was always fascinated how people did it while they were like 80, 90 years old. So I think he set a goal for himself to do it.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah. Gary Vee is also amazing for me. I think he's on fire, and I think he will also go like I think he will die and he will have a phone in his hand and be like, stay positive, work on your like, patience.
Yes, he
um,
definitely will.
Yeah, I learned so much from him. I'll tell you my Gary Vee story. So, at around 2017, I was listening to a bunch of different people online because I was always more of a listener and watcher than a reader. Although my mom is a creation teacher, so she always forced me to read. I never I never like to sit down and hold the book and read through it, but I read like 5 hours of podcast material through a day. And so I do enjoy books and ideas, but I love more talking to people like this and hearing them what they have to say. So at that point, I was listening to a few people who were in the personal development space and talking about different ideas. And I loved listening to motivational videos on YouTube, especially the ones where there's a compilation of like 5 to 10 people talking about these ideas, and then music in the background. And I would listen to it while I will go for a walk or for a run, or just going to the shop. I walk in, I'll be like all pumped, and people were like, what's wrong with this guy? And I'm here to buy bread. um, so yeah, and then it was kind of the end of 2017. I was going through a tough time where I decided to change a few things, and I predominantly wanted to change my job because I wasn't satisfied with the boss that I was working for, and I decided to take let's say a long holiday, but I accepted working a job for a guy that I knew that has his own tourism agency on a small island in Croatia, and he gave me free reins while working there. He basically had a bad employee the year beforehand, so he just wanted me to improve some things. And at that time, that was extremely easy for me. So it was working every day, but it was like really relaxed working. You know, in my break, I would go to the beach and go for a swim. And all this time, when there were no people around, I would listen to audiobooks and these YouTube videos. And I was kind of going through the idea of, I think I'm listening to too many different people at the same time. You know, I was going too broad with it. And then I made a decision to listen to only one person for a longer period of time. And Tony Robbins was on top of the list, but something was speaking to me, Gary V, you know? And I was like, all right, let me check out a few of his videos in a row. And I went on his YouTube channel and I saw that he had a massive amount of videos. And I just started listening more and more just his videos. And he changed my perspective on social media and gave me a lot of insight on business and just, you know, these personal development concepts that people don't usually talk about, like patience and things like that. So I'm very grateful for Gary Vee and all the work that he's putting out. I personally learned a lot through that.
Tell me, if I may ask you, what was your first video that you watched from him?
I can't remember. I think I watched him in these compilations while not watching the phone. It was in my pocket. So he was one of the like 10 voices that I heard. And then I kind of narrowed it down. I think I went back to 2017 and I always loved longer videos. So I hope that kind of narrows it down for you. It might have been a keynote speech where he was talking to an audience somewhere, but I can't remember specifically the exact one video that made me a fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand.
Do you remember it for yourself?
Yes, I do actually.
Yeah.
It was when I was learning about marketing, and I was trying to find these marketers and all these advisors, and I found his video on Facebook, I think. And I remembered his attitude, so arrogant, you know.
Yeah.
And he speaks about this himself, you know. He knows that he asks people, did you hate me at the first? And they say yes. So I remember that arrogant attitude, but he spoke the truth to the guy on the street, you know, because he likes to interact with his fans. And that time I just liked the video, but I said, oh, this is a poor millionaire, you know, because he just, you know, arrogant guy. Mm-hmm. But it kept something in my heart. So I went back to this video. I searched for this video in my liked videos because I knew it's somewhere there. Mm-hmm. And it took me maybe an hour, you know, to get through all these things, because it was at the time I wanted to self-develop myself. And I remember him. And man, I found his video and I watched another his video. I remember that was from some kind of conference or no, celebration of his something. There was he had a suit on himself, just a jacket as I have now, and he usually don't wear jacket. Yeah. That was so pumped. He was so pumped in this video and so lovely person, you know. I was like this, you know, big eyes. My mouth just dropped. And then the whole evening, maybe 3-4 hours, I was watching his videos. And since that time, he helped me. And as you said, he helped me to understand passions and patience and all these kind of kindness. Kindness. He developed the hashtag. He wanted to he wanted to make one day, I think it's 3rd of April or 3rd of May or something, a day of kindness as a global bank holiday. Mm-hmm. You know, so and since that time I just followed him, and I still do. As you said, he also talks about social media, and he will die with his phone in his hands, because he's putting social media in the place where they belong to, because people don't understand how to use this tool. You know, so I learned
a lot from his marketing strategy. It's amazing. Like I agree 100% with the volume of content that needs to be put out, and he's so spot on with his theories. Like now, after watching him for a few years now, I'm like, this came true, and I really do feel that he does know what he's speaking about, and it helped me a lot, and I'm definitely implementing his concepts for this podcast as well. For example, his idea of creating content, like have one hub video or one hub piece of content. For me, it's this podcast, right? And then like reuse the bits and pieces of it that work. So I take each episode and I chop it up into smaller pieces and post it on my other channel called Uncle Goal Podcast Clips, because not everybody wants to sit down for an hour and listen to the whole podcast, but they would enjoy a short clip of us talking about Gary Vee, right? Or us talking about data or something similar, So I implement that strategy, and I do it on all platforms, and try to stay on relevant topics. And I primarily love his concept of bringing value to the viewer. And I always go back to that, and I always think like, what can we say now? What can I do as a piece of content that can be helpful to someone watching? And I always do that before every video, and that's why I like talking about these topics that I told you before we started the podcast, because that's something that people struggle with, and especially during the lockdowns in the last year, I think that a lot of people were in a difficult space. So I think that all of us needs a little bit more positivity, a little bit more motivation. A useful conversation can go a long way.
Yes, I agree completely. As you said, we are in lockdown again, and like again, I mean, for the whole year already.
Still.
Still. And let me tell you, some people getting depressed really badly and losing their jobs, their businesses that they worked for a whole life, like since, I don't know, when they were younger, and now they just lost it because they have to close the doors and just stop everything and just go back home and sit at home, It's really sad. I'm sad to see it,
Yeah, true. When there's a situation like that, I always try to think like, all right, what is some kind of a alternative solution? And that's why I'm grateful to Gary, because he always stresses the fact how the internet has opened up so many possibilities and so many options for people that weren't there like 10, 15 years ago. Because now if someone loses their business, they can start creating a new business from their home, from their phone, from their laptop, and start working towards that. I know it's not the same. It's not, easy to do the transition, but all of it is learnable. It's doable, and you can connect basically to anyone in the world. So that gives you great opportunity that maybe you wouldn't have if you just had a shop somewhere down the street, So that's kind of the perspective that I take on that. Although, it's hard for a lot of people right now. And I talked to a lot of people from Croatia, where the economy is not as strong as in Ireland. And here in Ireland, we're lucky for the COVID payments that people are getting. And I feel that Ireland has a lot more international business coming here on its own. They set up the groundwork a lot better than Croatia. And I have I have a feeling that it's a lot easier to find a job here, even though it's the pandemic and the lockdown and everything, than it would be if I was in Croatia, So I'm grateful for that. And I hope that a lot of people who are listening kind of try to implement some of these concepts for them, no matter where they are.
Yes. Well, as you mentioned, as you mentioned, the alternative, people basically see themselves, as I used to, that there is no alternative to what you do, where you at, and what your circumstances are. But as I can see it from my point of view now, you can always kind of adapt to your circumstances and start asking yourself, where else can you go? What else can you do about it? And so, as you mentioned, social media and internet and all these things we have now, people can start business from their home, And this is basically what I'm trying to write. I'm writing the book about it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I actually focus on in my book is the actual passion at the beginnings, because I'm really the guy that would love people to be happy at work. So I don't want people to take social media and start business and trap themselves to do something every day, and they start feeling like this is just drawing my energy down, you know.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm putting big pressure on passions at first, or also how to find them. So the first step would be find yourself first, then find your passions, you know, and what you can do and how to do that, you know, how to find your passions. That's what I meant. And then I also go deep into the niche. You know, you have to find that kind of specific from your passion that no one does, or maybe someone does but not exactly how you see it, because every single person have his or her own personality and point of view and perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I dive deep into that kind of topics, and then I go to social media one by one. But well, let's say I took only few of them because I don't want to tell the world about every single possibility on social media. It's
Of
your
course.
own choice what you use. You use, let's say, you use YouTube, and then you use different platforms, but it's your own responsibility to take ownership of what you use to your own development of your business.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking about each one of them, these platforms, and how to behave on that platform, and what is difference between them, and how you can use them to your own advantage, instead of trapping yourself because you think you are pursuing something, let's say, but then you realize that, oh, I'm actually looking fame as someone else has, you know, as a person that I saw on social media, and actually I'm not feeling happy, but I'm already there, and I'm just trying to do all the same thing. So this is what I this is what I put so much pressure on, how to find your passions, real passions, you know, how to find yourself, what you like to do, what you can give to people. This is another thing, what you can give from yourself, what you can um, um, what you can bring to people as to make their life better, you know. So yeah, this is what you said, like there is always kind of alternative. Let's say, to bring that kind of topic as well, I may mention the guy that I went for presentation with. It was one of the Tony Robbins workshops,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a first one I went to, and it was good few years ago, because I was still looking for myself. And this guy, oh man, his story was just incredible. Like, it was just a movie that you
Yeah.
can see, but you don't believe it happens because it's just a movie. But he was a small boy at South Africa, you know, trying to find a ball, or maybe repair a ball so he can play football. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so, and his dad actually shoot himself, and he went home, and his mom was there, and she just closed the doors on him with his own brother, I think, or sister. And anyway, he was witnessing kind of situation where his mom actually did prostitute um, because she wanted to make money, and you know, his dad was the one making the money. And he he said that, I don't want to be that way, you know. I don't want to make myself sorry because I can't make money, you know. I want to actually find alternatives, as we mentioned. And so he wanted to become a DJ. So he went to London with nothing whatsoever. His mom paid for his school, gave him money, you know. And he went there, he finished the school, he started working at the small anything. Oh, I mean, he became a DJ eventually, but then he found himself unhappy, because you see DJing, you see all that fame and everything, and he found himself drugged up, um, drinking, you know, alcohol, and every single night, and he was really drowned from this.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "This is what I want in life." So he changed again, and he changed again. You know, he started developing himself. You know, and he became this coach, life coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, to come from that part where you kind of struggle to, you have to repair your own ball, you know, the ball that you found somewhere in the rubbish
Mm-hmm.
outside, you know, just to play football, and your mom is struggling to get something to eat, so she became a prostitute. And to see all that and change that all life to actually become someone, I mean, we have possibilities. all of us. I mean, there is also, I mean, there are people that have certain circumstances that they cannot change much, but they can find alternatives, you know. And it's really important to kind of widen up your point, your view, and which doors, not the view, which doors, but to find the doors that you haven't seen yet, you know, because there are maybe behind your back, but you keep going because you can see only the doors in front of you. Maybe take a take a step back, you know, think for a bit, maybe turn around, and you may find other doors behind you. And if you are afraid to open them, let's set some goals, maybe how you can open these doors, you know. How can I get there? Start asking these questions, and what possibilities I can possibly make, because you can make possibilities by your own decisions, you know. So I mean, yeah, the alternatives are here, and it's sad to see that COVID and all these restrictions and everything brought us to the point where we can't really progress, and we have to actually go back in our lives, because as I said, businesses that we worked on are gone now, you know, because we just have to close the doors, you know. We are depressed at home, we don't have any relationships, and we are alone at home because our office is closed, let's say. Yeah,
Mm.
many other struggles which I'm not even going to go into. So I mean, start asking these questions and you may find the doors behind you, you know. So I
Mm.
mean, this would
Yeah.
be my kind of point of to that whole situation we are
Yeah.
right now.
Um, I feel that a lot of people know that on a like a logical level, but I feel that most people never actually do anything about it, and I see that as a problem, you know. So I wanted to talk to you also a little bit about motivation, and I wanted to hear your opinion. Let's say somebody knows it on a logical level that they should change, they should take action, but they're struggling to motivate themselves. Do you have any ideas on how to improve that or overcome that?
I would probably, you see, many people who went through this had a certain breakthrough. And for example, me personally, I had that second person who taught me how to. So I would probably find someone who had similar trouble, or maybe some other trouble in life, and struggle. I would, no, that's the right name for it, struggle.
Mhm.
So who had a struggle in their life, and just follow them for a while. Just take your time, start following them, and see what they can take from them. You know, because sometimes you don't see the options until you see someone else did it. You know, so this would be my kind of approach to that, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree on that
I
one. I think
suppose,
that's
yeah. I mean, also with the media now, you know, if someone sees your podcast, that's a first step they can take. You know, this can be the first breakthrough. I mean, and from here they can kind of continue to search for these type of things.
mm,
And also, as Gary Vee say, I say his words because these words just rang bell now. Put the positivity in your ears. So put some kind of a podcast that talks about it, motivational videos on the go. Let's say, stop listening to all these sad songs, to all these hip hoppers, to all these guys who made it, and talking about how famous they are, how much famous they are, or maybe
mhm,
stop listening to metal music that is depressing you.
yeah,
Instead of taking the steps towards improvement, and change the type of a music you listen, you know, to something positive, even if you don't like it at the beginnings.
mm,
Just put it in your ear and just bear with that maybe for a few months, because I was suppose the kind of you have to create a habit of liking it. So I suppose when there is habit creation process, creative process, it takes time about 60 to 70 days until you kind of make it a habit and overcome these beginning steps, well, these hard steps at the beginnings. So I mean, this is what I would do. Yeah, put the positivity in your ears and start listening to people that motivates you. Even the speech, simple speech, of someone who you may like,
Mm.
and this will really change your day, really. Or even the music at the beginning of your day, every single day. You have to do it every single day to kind of make it a habit. So every single day in the morning, take that CD, or maybe, oh well, I mean, CDs are gone almost. Open Spotify, open YouTube, just listen to that song that brings that positivity, and let's go. Like, for example, Pitbull is my motivator. I mean, the guy in the videos, music videos, he looks like really stupid guy, I suppose, because he acts that way. But he's really clever. He's really intelligent. You wouldn't say he's intelligent until you hear him talk.
Yeah, you have to listen to an
Yes.
interview with him.
Sorry?
You have to listen to an interview with him to kind of get
Yes.
that.
Yes, you will realize when you listen to his interview, the interview with him, as you mentioned, as you said right now, because in his songs, he's kind of really acting stupid sometimes. But I mean, his songs for me, when I was going to take that job, that I get actually in the office, I put the suit on and I put his music on because I can feel that power, and I
Yeah.
went there. I was so relaxed. I'm like, wow, I'm so relaxed now. I'm gonna take this job. Gonna take this job from their hands, from anyone else, and I just did it. So I mean, yeah, put the positive music, or maybe someone who motivates you in your ears, uh, and also our video is really helpful because you can see the expression of the person and that motivating passion, I
Mm.
suppose. So yeah, this would be my advice. I think.
Definitely, I agree 100%, man. I use music all the time to put myself in a state of like feeling better, and it after a while it kind of becomes second nature. Like if you do it often enough and use certain triggers, like you can trigger it even without the song. You can just kind of remember the song or the feeling that the song gave you, and you go like 30% there already on its own. So I love that effect as well. You mentioned listening to depressing metal. I had my bit of that, and a practical recommendation there, because people who listen to heavy metal, they don't like to switch their music, like they're in a, so maybe a good recommendation there would be to switch from dark metal to power metal.
Yes.
You'll get a lot more energy, and it'll be motivating to do stuff. I use it for instance for working out and keeping myself fit. It kind
Yeah.
of gives me that edgy energy that you sometimes need to move yourself further, faster, and yeah. That's kind of the first thought that came to my mind when you said metal music. But yeah, it's definitely about putting yourself in a different state, and in my mind that should be taught in schools. Like, I don't know why nobody ever mentions that, and nobody ever teaches us that. Everybody is like, do this, learn this, and that's about it. And changing your state can literally change your life. I mean, Tony's been doing it in all of his seminars. He basically changes the person's state. I remember one story that he was telling where there was a woman. She was so worked up when she came for private consulting to him. She went on a rant for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and it was nothing but negativity. And he took a glass of water and he poured it over her head. And she's like, what are you doing? And then he basically described to her, like, that's a state change, like that's an extreme example. But basically, if you have a pattern interrupt that changes the behavior that was somehow ingrained to you for years, maybe, you need a stronger interrupt to break the pattern so you can implement a new type of behavior. And then he taught her how to do it, and then she started doing it on a regular basis. And of course, after a few months, they talked back. She had some brilliant results in actually a short amount of time. And I love that. I use that all the time. Like I figured out that clapping hands and like changing, if you're sitting down or standing up to another position, stuff like that helps as well. So I can highly recommend doing things like that.
You know what? One more thing I would recommend to this one. Let's say you probably would do that, I suppose, alone at home, but it would be creepy, because I'm not sure if you saw the movie Johnny English,
Mm-hmm.
and that's from the guy who made Mr. Bean, of course.
Yeah.
And he was, dancing to the music at his home, pretending to to be an agent who beat up the guys. But these guys were as his small toy, as a duck toy
Mm-hmm.
that flows the water, and he was
Yeah.
beating that up, and he pretend to be, and he was, "Hi-yah,"
Yeah.
and this is where you have to kind of bring yourself into that moment. When you're listening to that music, you have to bring yourself into that moment. You have to you have to put it really loud so you don't hear any other noise, any other kind of people around you, and
Yeah.
maybe bring that moment to life
Mm-hmm.
at that exact moment. And I suppose you do it alone at home because you don't want anyone else. As you said, you go to the shop with your podcast on, and you come pumped. And what do you want from us? I just want the bread. You know, So you don't probably want extreme outside, but you can do it before. And then when
Mm-hmm.
you go outside, you actually feel that energy,
Yeah.
and it stays with you for a couple of hours, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really good. Uh, Point where to start. I suppose
And
this is really nice,
I
nice
would
kind of.
actually, I would actually like to challenge the audience to do exactly the thing that you described, but in front of people when walking through a crowd and things like that, as a challenge in overcoming social anxiety. For instance,
Okay.
when I was in high school, I felt a little bit like shy and introverted and all of that, even before when I was younger. So I started reading up on stuff online, like things that can help with that, how to improve your social game, let's call it like that. And there are a lot of people who do these social experiments, like walk backwards down the street, or say hi to every person that comes your way, or look people directly in the eye and just give them like a proper smile, even if you don't stop and don't tell. Like doing stuff like that, um, it slowly cracks the idea in your head that, oh, what are others going to think about me, what's going to happen if I do this. It's hard at the beginning, and there's a huge like adrenaline rush, everything in your head and body is telling you, no, 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 don't do it. But after you do it in step by step, you can actually break through some of these barriers, and that's super helpful for like personal development, like in sales. Like you couldn't imagine how much easier it is to walk up to a business meeting and start talking about your ideas after you've approached someone on the street and did something completely idiotic, and comedic, where like 5 people start laughing at you. Doing a business presentation after that is actually rather easy. And I found a guy online who has these like steps. He's like, go up to 5 people and ask them what's the time, and then do the same thing to 5 people while you're having a watch on your hand, and then do the same thing for people while you're standing under a clock, like on a square or somewhere, and you'll get different reactions. Then he scales it up, right? And then he's like, go to a town where you don't know anyone and ask a person for $100, and like then ask like 50 people for $100, and like eventually it happens, somebody gives you like $100, like, which is the funny thing in it. But it's a huge like a barrier breaking exercise, and doing it with the music, like just dancing in the street, even for 10 seconds, it would be for some people unimaginable, but they would be surprised how nothing happens. There were different exercises, like lay down in the middle of the street for 10 seconds.
Yes.
It's like nobody ever does that, right? And people would probably walk by you and be like, this is weird. Like, what is this person doing? But then again, imagine how many times in your life you've seen something weird and you never think about it again. Like it never crosses your mind. It's so irrelevant. Like everybody has their own thing happening in their lives, and people just don't remember stuff like that. So it's just for the moment, and if you overcome it, then it gets easier.
Yeah, I can relate to that. When I was trying to escape my own demons, when I was younger, let's say, I think it was I was 17 maybe at that time. It was at school. And I started shooting a video series of something like Jackass. Not sure if I can say.
All right.
It's a but that's kind of name of a video that you know probably these videos.
I know, Jackass.
Yeah, so I started shooting that kind of a thing, and
Wow.
I did many stupid stuff. Like I was going crossing the road, and on the green light, of course, don't do it on red light, on green light, where the car stopped, and I just stopped in the middle and lie down in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Just lie down in the car, and then you should see the people's reaction in the car, like. Or some people just shouted bad words, really bad words, like, oh my god, okay, I'm going away. Or let's say I jumped into the fontaine in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of the town in really warm weather, where were people around it. There was middle of the town, center of the town. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and I went up with Mentos in my hand, and I said, "Mentos, the fresh maker," and I just ran away. All wet, soaking wet. And this was me escaping from actually dealing with my demons. So I was trying to escape them instead of dealing with them. I mean, that's not a really good example, but it was good example actually how to bring yourself that, as you mentioned, to lie down on the street or maybe dance around, ask people stupid questions, break that kind of your barriers sometimes, and as I can see now, I didn't find myself. I didn't. I learned there actually. I learned there how to deal with the audience. I'm not scared actually. I was in Dublin, in Grafton Street, walking through the Grafton Street one day. It was longer time ago, yeah. And I used to do karaoke before, sometimes in a pub. And I learned that song from Justin Timberlake. And these guys, the band, small band, was playing it live, And I was listening, and they stopped. And I approached them, and I said to them, "Would you play that again? I will sing." And the guy said, "Oh, of course, no problem, man. That's actually nice. Do you know the lyrics?" And I said, "Yes." So I started, and it was so nice. I didn't scare these people because I felt so free. And first, of course, a few seconds at the beginnings, I felt like, oh my God, okay, here it comes. It starts shivering, and then after 2 or 3 verses, no verses, the lines of the lyrics, it disappeared, and I started singing, and people started clapping, and it was so nice. But I forgot the second verse, so I was kind of mumbling. Yes, but it was so nice, it's really nice experience, and I have to recommend to people actually to sometimes to push themselves to do small things, as you said. Start with the small steps at the beginnings, and to overcome these barriers, I suppose. Yeah, this was I would recommend that, really.
Yeah, karaoke is a great way of overcoming that barrier. Did
Yes.
you know that the biggest fear in the world, statistically speaking, which is larger than death and spiders and snakes and shark attacks, is the fear of public speaking?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
very known. Not many people realize that, and also me, when I first read that information, I'm like, this is impossible. But it's actually
It
true.
is. It
It
is.
is true, yes.
Karaoke is great because it simulates it for like a 5-minute song. You're standing in front of the audience and you're expressing yourself, and that's a great exercise to do. I know that in Japan they have a huge karaoke culture, and usually outside of lockdown periods, right? They go to these karaoke bars, and there you get a room for yourself and your colleagues, and then you have a screen and like 7 mics, and everybody sings together, and it's ingrained in the culture, and everybody does it, and it's super, like, for building connections, and expressing yourself and getting comfortable with it. So I would love to go to Japan and try it there, and just meeting new people, and embarrassing myself by singing in Japanese.
Yeah, well, you see, that would be great exercise. This is what our company do as well. We have karaoke sessions, and we close the doors in one of the offices, make it private, and bring all the people that sign up for it, and I wasn't actually attending. I'm not sure why I never attended it. I think I wasn't interested as much because I didn't feel like I think I need
Mhm.
to kind of get out from work. I mean, because you
Mhm.
know what, I enjoy myself at work a lot, and I do also stuff aside because once I'm done with the workload, I can kind of um, give myself permission to do something else aside. So I watch a movie sometimes, half of it, not the whole one, because of course you have to work, you have to be there. But I mean, I enjoy myself so much at work, so I probably that's why I never attended it. But this is what companies do actually.
Yeah.
They do karaoke's and sessions like that, yeah, just
Mhm.
to break through the kind of social. I would I wouldn't say use social distancing because it's happening now because of the restrictions, but I would use social barriers. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
social barriers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh,
yeah,
and that helps in the long term so much, because networking, in my opinion, is something that affects your career so bad. I mean, so much, because if you connect well with people, then you can just like get into rooms where you otherwise couldn't get and do presentations and sell your product and connect better and make more money in the end. So that kind of leads us to one of the questions that I always go through with guests is the money problem or the money solution. What are your thoughts about money, and what are people doing wrong? What can they do to improve? And yeah, generally, if you have any tips for us.
right. Mm, I would come to the social media again and all the internet that we have available at these days. Because let's say if you were trying to make some money when 20 years ago, maybe longer than that, yeah, let's say 30 years ago, it was really hard to find the real job, to kind of bring that like kind of real income aside. And but these days you can try to flip certain stuff. Let's say you buy something from someone really cheap and you sell it much more expensive in some other countries, and this would be my advice, to use kind of internet in these days, in these well in these days, I mean, towards you improving your income, let's say. Also, internet can help you to develop your own business. Not, as I said, I'm not pursuing it, but if I really want to, I can make money by selling the book I
Mhm.
wrote already, so I could set up the ads and start selling my book. And also I would kind of suggest to people maybe to look in their own passions. You are knitting, okay, knit a jumper, or just kind of make some kind of nice hats or nice dresses and
Mhm.
sell them on marketplace on Facebook. You will make nice money, aside. You can make 40, 50, and plus, I mean, you can make, no 40, 50 euro one piece. So let's say if you do two pieces a week, if you really push it, really, you can make 100 extra a week. And this would be big help to some families. I mean, there are certain ways of how to make money now in these days. And if you have a phone, you basically have everything available just in that small device. So I mean, this would be my advice to people, how they can kind of improve
Mhm.
the money. Also, what sometimes people are not trusting themselves to change the job, as I didn't trust myself to change the job for a longer time now, because I was refused many times before, and then I didn't trust myself. So I mean, start searching for certain patterns or maybe goals, and set the goals of how you can get there, and try to go one step at a time. So let's say, as I said, if you find a course, finish that course and try to train yourself again in that area. Be patient, and then maybe try to develop the strategy. Okay, do I need more experience? Start to searching some internships
Mhm.
in that area. So there is always different ways to change your job, if you really need to. Of course, not sometimes circumstances are really pushing you down, and I understand that. But as I said before, you have to search for these alternatives and
Mhm.
find these doors behind you. So I suppose there are few different ways of how you can improve your income and bring that income to your family, let's say, or just to yourself. Maybe you want to go for a concert and you don't have that money, so sell something online. You have some stuff in your garage and it's old. For example, you have old LP player, sell this for 100, or LP players are really cool now at these days. And
Yeah, yeah.
if you sell a vintage one, find a person who is interested in vintage things, as a collector, and you can make 500 on these things, sometimes if you find the right person. So I mean, there are possibilities. You just need to start searching
Mm.
and really kind of not only searching, but also thinking of how, in which different ways you can go in searching, because you can find someone, oh, I sell it to you for 50, but as I said, go to a collector, sell it for 500. So kind of be creative in these things, and people can change a lot
Yeah.
once they start thinking about it and really do something about it. Because if you come home from work and start watching a TV and be sorry, like, oh, this job gets me nowhere, you buy a few cans of beers and sit there, for a whole evening, of course nothing will change. So I mean, yes, work. If you want to change and bring that money, and to improve your income, start working, in every way.
That's some great advice there. Thomas, for people who loved our talk here and who want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Right. So I have a website which is the same as my name, TomasVircik.com. So Tomas Vircik, I suppose that's how we pronounce it, TomasVircik.com. Then I have social media under the same name tag. So my name tag is actually my social media platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And I have my YouTube channel as well. This is where I create the videos that are connected to my blog. And as I said, if you are searching for positivity, just put these videos on, start listening to it, because it also very nice music in the background. So the music brings up the positivity, also brings up that expression of the words that are said in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I started really slowly, so some of the videos may not be at that level that you want to hear, but they are okay to listen to. And so my videos, I suppose, would be a nice thing to see, to watch on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, I
I
like
think
it, man,
that,
and I think you have a great voice for the style of videos that you're making. It's really, like really nice to listen to you. So I enjoyed your videos. I think you should do a lot more, because right now is the perfect time for it, because a lot of people are searching for content like that. So I hope to see a lot more from your channel, man.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll leave the links to all of what you mentioned below in the show notes and the comments. But one question that I always say for the end of the podcast, which is kind of the essence of the whole podcast, and the idea how it started, is that most people didn't have the, like rich uncle that helped you to find the gold in life and helped you achieve your dreams and things like that. So I want this podcast to be one of the vehicles that helps people find their gold in life. So Thomas, I want to hear your opinion on that. How do you find your gold in life?
Right. So this question is one of the biggest question, I suppose, in here, because at the beginnings you have to find yourself. So as I said, start writing down your characteristics, who you want to be, and start changing yourself towards these areas. Then I suppose you need to also find your passions again, because because these passions will show you kind of life purpose sometimes, because you will kind of discover your talents by what you love to do. Or it doesn't necessarily mean, if you do it the right way or kind of better way, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is your passion. So I mean, you have to really search and maybe go back to your childhood and see what you enjoyed, and you kept at it, for a long time, and then you forgot about it because, of course, life circumstances changed, and you lost yourself in life again, and then you are started a job. So I suppose you need to find these passions and come back to them and start practicing them and make it a ritual, because the ritual makes you develop these things. Otherwise you will just do it once in a month. That's not enough.
Mm.
So I mean, this would be my kind of advice, because you need to the purpose of life is the happiness, to pursue it, that happiness, because it's not always that you are happy. You still need to pursue it, even if you become happy.
Mhm.
Because the life circumstances change a lot, and so you need to still keep pursuing it. So for example, you need to raise that level of your expectations from yourself. Let's say not really high, but you need to always not you need to what I wanted to say actually is you need to find that vision. So find your passions, find yourself, and then find that vision where you want to go. What can I do with all my talents, with my characteristics, with my behaviors, and where can I go with this, and how I can get there. So I mean, you need to see the vision from your passions, from your childhood, from your life history. I mean, even if you are young, 20 years old, you need to come back to your childhood. Oh, this is who I was. This is who I became. Do I want to go that way? Do I want to change? And to have that vision visualized, and to visualize that vision, and then you can start setting the goals. Like, okay, I want to become a millionaire, but why? Why is the very important questions, because millionaire is a tough job, let's say. Yeah. So you need to set them goals and how to get there as closest as you can. So I think this would be my advice to people of how to find the goals and what they want to do in their life, because many people just complain that how life is short, how life is short how life is short,
Mm.
but we just waste it by the things we do. Life is not short at all, actually. you know it feels short when you start enjoying the life every single second, and when you start working on yourself, when you start working on your improvements, and then you realize that life is short, but it's actually short enough to 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 find that happiness. So when you will get older, you will actually be not sorry for what you did. So that's the main part. That's the main part of the advice, to not have that regret. You can have any mistake. You have to make mistakes, of course. You have to make mistakes, but then think of yourself when you are getting older, when you will be old. Think of yourself at that stage. I'm 80 years old. How will I look at my life when I'm young, at this age? Will I enjoy what I did? Will I kind of be regretting what I did, or maybe I will be kind of proud of myself and happy that I actually start something, even if it didn't work out well for me, but it changed my life in certain directions, and I didn't waste the opportunities, because the opportunities is only the one, because you have one life. So I suppose this would be kind of advice of how to set the goals, you know, and see yourself when you are old, let's say 80 years old. Did I live my life the way I wanted,
Mm.
So I mean, this would be it, I think.
Awesome stuff, man. Thank you again for sharing that, and I agree with everything that you said. I think it's very important to look from the future perspective of yourself, and if you're not on the right track, you might regret it, and then if it's too late, then what, right? um, so yeah, that's kind of the main reason why we're doing this podcast, to help people find their goal in life and kind of aim for that and achieve it and be happy, and progress, of course. Get better all the time, work on yourself, help other people. Stuff like that will change your life radically. And thank you, Thomas, for sharing your story and all the tips and ideas. I'm sure that will help people, and everyone who's still listening, please leave us a comment what you liked best. What was the part that you enjoyed most? What are some of the new things that you learned? What are some of the topics that we maybe didn't go through in detail enough that you would like to hear more about? And yeah, Thomas, thank you for being a guest on the Uncle Gold podcast.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you, Borna.
Thank you everyone for listening. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Uncle Gold Podcast.